Two people are dead after two small planes collided midair in Arizona. It's the latest aviation disaster to happen this year. The scene unfolded at Marana Regional Airport, which is about 15 miles northwest of Tucson. Marana is an uncontrolled field. That means the airport does not have an operating air traffic control tower. Instead, pilots use a common frequency to announce their position. The FAA and NTSB are investigating today's crash.
Delta Airlines is offering to pay $30,000 to passengers on the flight that crashed and flipped over while landing at Toronto Pearson Airport. Monday's flight had 76 passengers and 4 crew members aboard. Everyone survived. The plane lost both wings and tail as flames and smoke roared from the aircraft. The cause is under investigation, but there were strong winds and snow at the time of the crash. Delta's CEO says the $30,000 payout is a gesture that comes with, quote, no strings attached and does not impact their rights. Well, the recent string of deadly plane crashes has stoked a renewed fear among some travelers.
Joining us now to talk about some of the ways people can ease their stress is Julie Naj from Sharp Mesa Hospital. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Thanks. Let's start here, because for so many people, maybe they already have a fear of flying. Yeah. When I talk to some of the crash investigators, they say this is a coincidence, it ebbs and flows, there's no connection. But when someone's seeing this over and over and over again on the news, basically daily at this point, how can they, especially if they already have a fear, get on a plane?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's natural when we see these sort of tragedies to have a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. I think a lot of people are feeling unsafe about flying, and it makes a lot of sense. These are really scary things to see. And you know, I think what's helpful to sort of look at is the anxiety that brings up, right? And, you know, we are biologically wired within us to avoid things that make us anxious, which is a survival thing, right? And, you know, what as therapists we know, and what we teach our patients over at Sharp Mesa Vista, is when we have these anxieties and these fears, it is so important to kind of face those fears. You know, what we know is that when we are anxious and we avoid, sure, short term, we get relief. Long term, the anxiety continues. And what's been, I think, really helpful is looking at another anxiety tool we talk about is checking the facts. The reality is, statistics show it's still very unlikely to be in a plane crash. And yet, it is really scary to see it, right? And so I can imagine it's really hard to challenge those fears and face that fear in something so big.
So I'm your patient, let's say, and you tell me to face my fears, so I get on a plane. I'm on the plane, but now what techniques can I employ to feel better?
Absolutely. So what I mean, as someone who uses these techniques on a plane as well, I think it's helpful to have a game plan. So when you're on a plane, I mean, you're kind of stuck in this thing, right? And so having the whether it be a device or the things with you. Now, most of us have phones. A phone can be a really great tool in distraction. Distraction is going to be one of the best things for anxiety. When we are anxious, these thoughts we call catastrophizing. You're thinking worst case scenario. Sometimes you're even having images of worst case scenario. And that's what's feeding the anxiety. And so having a phone, whether it be downloading your favorite podcast or a movie or anything that we enjoy, it essentially takes our mind to a more neutral stimulus, and we're no longer maybe thinking about the things that are really amping up the anxiety, and it can really help ease us.
And let's carry on this example. I'm on the plane with Kimberly. She's the one having maybe a panic attack or something. I'm with her. How can I help a loved one if they are maybe having a panic attack or anxiety attack on the plane?
You love me.
I do love you.
That's so kind. I mean, that's such a good question. I mean, it would be, you can distract your person, right? So looking at them, even having a conversation with them can be really helpful. Probably conversation unrelated to plane crashes and plane and flying. The other thing, a tool that we actually use quite a bit with our patients is what we call the ABC game. So it's taking a category and going all the way from A through Z with that category. So we do animals, and then you could say, hey, tell me an animal that starts with A. Right? tell me an animal that starts with B, and it's good for kids too. It's sort of like a game, right? So it's fun, but again, you're taking your mind off that thing that those thoughts that are really triggering the anxiety. And we use that with panic, so it's quite successful.
Love it. Julia Nagy, we feel better already.
We do.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
ABC game, something our ABC 10 viewers can remember very easily.
Yeah,
we appreciate
beautiful.
you, Julia.